Well, after a little bit of a mix-up last week, compliments of Gmail, sending things were into outer space.
Or wherever, yeah.
Yeah, it's wherever they go. You know, what would it be? It would be like
Inner Mongolia, we don't know.
Of the digital world. So in that part of that matrix. So the last time we got together, Tom, we had an incredible run at Dubai and with the Grand National. So maybe it was just fitting that we took off last week. This week, we'll see if we can get back to some big winners in big fields at Randwick. We did post our picks last week. Yeah, a lot of short price horses won last week, so not as much fun as it would have been.
But there were some interesting wins. Biasatina continues to prove how good she is.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was
it looks like they paid over $3 million for her.
And did you hear about the story about the floods with that horse?
Yeah.
Where they got flooded and this horse got out of the barn and swam to safety and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a pretty wild. I mean, that sounds like a movie script to me.
Yeah, if it isn't, I don't know what it wouldn't be.
Yeah, it seems to me that somebody out there who has that kind of ability. My daughter can write. Maybe I'm going to have her write that movie. But I guess you got to get the rights from the people there, right? But
absolutely,
that's a pretty wild story. So I mean, that is definitely a movie material. Yeah. Well, hopefully we have some movie material in our picks today, like just great things that no one would ever expect would happen. So when the show's over, we'll post our picks over here at horseracingtoday.net. While you're there, there's an HRT gear button. Click on that right there, just like I did. You can support the show. Get a number 13 hat, a number 13 shirt. 6 days left. You can save 10% if you buy 3 things or more. So we are fighting inflation here at Horse Racing Today. I was going to say Horse Racing Nation to make it rhyme, but then I would have the likes of Ed DeRosa mad at me. We can't have that. Race number 3 in Randwick, Thomas, is where we're going to start. This is the Toyota Forklifts Frank Packer Plate. So there's a lot going on with that. This one is going to be, Tom, 200 meters, as we like to do here. We take a look at the track, see where there's 2,000 meters. 200 meters would be a much different race. Looks like they're going to start on the turn here, and they're going to go around this way and come back to the finish line. Just starting on that turn in any way impair anybody's opportunity to win.
Usually the inside horses are at somewhat of a disadvantage.
All right, so I've imagined too in race number 3, which we are right here, you'd want to see a little bit of some early pace in those races to get yourself. And Shangri-La Spring, boy, that one looks like it's a ton faster than everybody else.
It is, definitely. On paper, it's definitely the fastest horse.
As they settle into position, well, that one's all out there by itself too. So this is going to be the Roadrunner versus everybody else. Let's see if there is a Wile E. Coyote in there that can catch that Roadrunner. At the end, it looks like Swift Falcon is the fastest of the bunch at the end. Although Shangri-La Spring is really not all that far off the late speed of the others. So the question is, Tom, for the speed horse, can it get out? Can it do so in reasonable fractions and find a way to steal this race on the front, or do you like something else?
No, I go somewhere else. I'm going to start with 6. Shangri-La Rock, my top choice. 1 1/3 up before in its 7th race career, but it's still only won that was a maiden race. It's been racing at distances and been looking okay. I mean, and I think I'm going off those last 2 races because it seems to be getting better, a little better and a little better. And I think adding the distance can only help. And I like the price. The number 2, Firm Agreement, is going to be my second choice. He finished second in his last 2 races. One was at this track and one was at Rose Hill. The latter was in a Group 3 race and it was at this distance. And then his previous race was at 2,400 meters. He generally comes from off the pace. We got a speedster in here, so that probably helps him. And you got to look at him as being this level is the right level for him. But I still think they may be trying to find the right level for this horse. Mm-hmm. And finally, I'm going to take 1 Swift Falcon Tom. I 11 races, won 3, played 6 times. So yeah, but it's very good at running in the money, better than it is at winning. I think the comment that struck me was in one of its races. It said, "Lack the killer blow." So it's a late runner. I think it's going to beat past the horses that are tiring, but that's about the best it's going to do.
Mm-hmm. Here they say it probably wins. They expect Swift Falcon to deliver the killer blow today. I have firm agreement. Tom is my top selection in there. Last time out, the horse showed some major improvement. Should also point out that right now they have the track listed as soft 6. But as I looked at the weather forecast for Randwick, it does look like there is sunshine. I would expect, like last week, early on, it was rated as soft with the track to improve. So I didn't kind of look at the soft. I looked at the soft to good records. I'm going to go with another one, a different one in here, that Mason Lewis, the 7 horse, 10-1 right now. It's my second choice. One of the things I see in my notes when I review race after race after race, once the winners are in, I see faster. This one was faster by about 3 seconds last time out. That's a major improvement. I went with Swift Falcon. Right now, that is your favorite right now, a little under 2-1. Even money in the program. So kind of moving up a little bit in odds. It does have the most back class, as Tom pointed out. It isn't close, but it does seem to have a problem. I think I don't know that its record and its performance live up to basically a 6-5, 8-5, 9-5 horse. Or at least not even money. And then finally, I am going to go with my 4th pick, the speedster in here, Shanghai La Spring. There's not a lot of speed in here, as we saw in the speed map. The track, when it goes up to good, when you look at the horse's performance, she holds her speed longer. If the track gets upgraded, as the weather forecast indicates it might, I think she might get out to the lead, be able to hang on without giving it up this time. We'll see. Race 4 is next on our list of things to do. Man, I wish they had a Australian version of the predictor, but that's you and I, Thomas. Another mishap. I am the lone race 4 person in here today for the Mostyncopper James H.B. Carr Stakes. 1,400 meters for this one here. Time to start there, go their way around. They got plenty of backspace there to get themselves involved in the race. So I'm imagining getting early position, even though I'm a solo flyer on this one. Getting early position makes good sense here.
Yes.
So let's see who's going to get that early position. Thomas, early on, you got a trio, about 4 horses in here that should compete. So this, just on the surface, looks like a race between speedsters and closers. Settling position lets us know that you got the 4 that want to be out of front. Everybody else chasing. Usually in a scenario like this, you want the first 2, not the second pairing. At the end, well, they all have some considerable late speed in there, Tom, with Churchill's Choice as the number 1 of those late runners. That is Churchill's Choice, a part of my picks for race number 4. And let me tune over there and see. Well, here's what I did, Tom. It's funny that I didn't really write much notes for this one because I went through it. I felt like this race was pretty much wide open and anybody could win. So as I went through it, I just basically went out and calculated out what I think their final times could be. And 3 of them ended in a tie. So I just put them in order from the highest odds to the lowest odds. And then my 4th one is a little bit of a price. So I went with number 2, Zeitung as my top selection. And then number 4, Lilac. Then number 1, Clean Energy. And the long shot in here is Mr. number 10, Alabama Fox at 26-1. This horse has run 3 times, 2 wins, and a close third in there. So I would expect that this horse might be one of those horses at 26-1, and we haven't seen the best of it, that can beat the other ones that produce.
And you didn't pick Titanium Miss, huh?
I didn't pick Titanium Miss. Why? Should I have picked that one?
Well, look at the
151-1. Yeah, I'll save that for the Grand National.
Yeah.
Well, I did that. My top pick won that race somehow. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
I think I should have retired from horse racing after that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it paid well too.
What did it pay? Like
for a Mullins horse. What was it off at?
It was like $65 or $75, something like that.
Yeah.
And in the Dubai, I had the $130 winner in my picks too, which was crazy. Yeah, it's because you have to go to old-fashioned handicapping there, and here, I rely a lot more. I've created a lot of different models, but I've learned that you have to mix the quantitative and the qualitative. I'm just trying to find that perfect mix. In race number 6, we got the Myplates JRA Plate. I don't know.
No, it's the Japanese Racing Association.
Is that what that is?
Okay. Yeah, JRA.
JRA. Fantastic. Well, JAR would be JAR. I would get that right.
You get that right. Yeah.
Yes. 2,000 meters for this one for a Group 3. It's open company for 3-year-olds and up. Looking at the 2,000 meter race. We saw that in the first one. You're going to get that little turn there. Tom says being to the outside is probably a little bit advantageous. You get that straight run in the turn instead of turning. We do think that some good positioning early on could be important. We see a couple in here that have some really speed. A good mix, though, of front runners, mid-pack, and late speed types. So this will be a jockey's race in all likelihood, getting the right fractions. So we look at when they settle in there. Only one right there, Touristic, going to be way off the pace, going to come into your screen late. And then finally, as they come home, looks like Molly Bloom, Touristic, the one way in the back, but maybe not enough late speed to catch the rest. And in cap are your top late runners, Tom. Who are your top picks for this one?
I'm going to start with number 2, Poised Argent. Veteran of 33 races, run 14 at this distance. He's either won or placed in 10 of those races. And at Rose Hill in his last start, he didn't get going so well. And it was a Group 2 race. He ran 6th. It wasn't an awful race, but it wasn't a great race. Previously raced, he ran 2nd at 1,800 meters. And there were issues in that race. So, yeah, he's 1/3 up in the past. So I think this is a good position for him. And that's a little bit of a price, but we'll see.
Yeah, 10-1 works for me.
Yeah. Go with 11. Sounds of Heaven is my next choice. She raced 7 days ago in a Group 1. She showed some interest earlier in the race, and then not much. Ran 11th. The winner was Fangirl, which I think both of us probably had because it looked like an outstanding pick in that one. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good horse. It's a quick turnaround. Going to face the males, but she's had good efforts in Group 2 races at Rose Hill. It's just, second at 1,900 meters. I think she'll be a little more forwardly placed. And we'll see if she can finish strongly as she has in the past. Finally, I'm going to take number 6, New Endeavor. Ran 2nd last time at a 1,500 meter race at Rose Hill. And it beat the rest of the field, but really had zero chance of getting it the winner. This is a first up situation. He showed promise, late runs, 6th Group 2 race. Adds distance, has 2 starts. He's placed in both of them. I don't see why he wouldn't continue to improve. And that's where I'm playing him.
I'm going to begin in this race with number 13, Touristic. This horse is the most consistent performer in the field, and he has had success, everything but winning at the track. You could see at the track and distance 3 times out, 2 seconds and a third, 5 times at the track, a couple of seconds, a couple of thirds. Well, today's the day that O goes away. Naval College.
And he is going to be coming from the clouds.
Yeah, that's all right. Clouds work too. Rain comes from the clouds. So he's going to make it rain, Thomas. See, we young people, old people know the vernacular as well. All right. Naval College, the 8 horse, is next up on my list. Sort of an all-or-nothing horse, particularly at the track. 6 races. He won 2 of them. Didn't do anything else in any of the others. At the distance, also similar type performance, 6 times out, 3 wins, and a third. You see the track and distance, 3 wins, 3 races, 2 wins. So maybe a 66.666% horse for the course at the distance. Number 4, Klondike. You like those ice cream bars, Thomas? The Klondike bars?
I did when I was a kid. I don't think I've had one in years.
You're not a kid anymore. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Leave that for people like you, Richard, the kids, or Arrested Development types. So with Klondike, this horse, Tom, is shipped over from the UK. It's going to make its Australian debut, so running upside down for the first time in its career. But in those UK grade Group 2s, Group 3s, very competitive. So I think it should fit here. And then finally, I agree. Where you started, I end with Boys d'Argent. I know my French is wonderful, if that's even what that is. But in any case, his horse has been a pretty good fan of the distance. It's run there 14 times, 4 wins, a couple of seconds, and 4/3. I think the horse will move a little bit forward today versus most of the field that'll be middle and back. So it could have a pretty good shot to get the job done, as Tom pointed out, at 10-1. 3 more races to go. Puts us into race number 7 at Randwick, which, by the way, all of our racing tonight will begin. The first race that we covered, race 3, at 10:40 p.m. Eastern. So is this pre-party or is this just late dinner racing, Tom? I don't know.
Well, it depends on what time zone you're in, I guess.
Well, I mean, in New York, 10:40 is still some people just going out for dinner right after a long day.
Just getting going.
Yeah, indeed. So at least here in the Midwest, I don't know. We're a little bit more routine on our schedules, I think. I don't know. This is the Moët. Is that it, right? Moët, right?
Moët Chandon.
Moët, right. And Chandon, champagne steaks. Yeah, I'm cultured. 1,600 meters in here, Thomas. So this time they're going to start back in the chute. Plenty of room to run before they make it down into that turn. So really, that shouldn't give any post positions advantage, Tom, would you say?
No, I think these are 2-year-olds. So, it's one of those where sometimes you're going to see a huge favorite and they'll do nothing, or you'll see the huge favorite run away from the field.
Yes. The one thing about 2-year-olds in horse racing is similar to 2-year-olds in rearing children is that you have no idea what the bleep they're going to do. They just do it.
Yeah.
Well, so far, what we've seen them do when the race gets started is we've seen Bellazine and Spicy Lou get out to the front with Lady Pankhurst. Those should be your front runners. And it looks like that trio has a pretty aggressive early pace advantage over the rest. So I'd expect those 3 to go out. They got to be careful not to burn each other out. Looks like the Spicy Lou Blaines will take the front runner status, pilot, co-pilot, with Lady Pankhurst sitting in the trailing position. A lot of these horses, Tom, middle back. I know it's a little bit of a longer race. It's 2-year-olds. Most 2-year-olds, and here, the States anyway, do their best work when they're out front. A little bit less discouraging. And then finally, on the closing speed, State Visit, Nepotism, Next Gen, Buffalo, a lot of these horses will be stampeding at the end. Which ones will have the confidence, Thomas, to come from the back if that's where you picked your horse from and get the job done?
I'm on the front end with number 9, Spicy Lou. She's undefeated, and she's beaten some of these horses. I looked at her comments, and the comments are "too good" was one of them, and that she changed gears during the, being able, and that's really something for a 2-year-old to do. And that says she's matured quickly. So, I mean, she may be a great 2-year-old and a bust as a 3-year-old, but who knows?
Like most.
Yeah, a lot of them do that. But we're only looking, I think she's the one to beat, but you wouldn't know that with the odds.
There's some skepticism there, it looks like.
Yeah, well, it's a filly against mares. Against males. But I still think with her races that she's won, she's looked really good. And I think she is definitely going to be a tough horse to beat. 12, Next Gen is going to be my next choice. She had way too much to do in her last race. She was very wide. She was the widest one in the race. And she got 5th anyways and beat some of these horses. Comments that I read, I'm going to paraphrase it and say she ran green. Because her first start was a winning effort, and she was green in that one too. But, she had too much ground to cover. But today, I think that this may set up nicely for her to hit the board, and that's where I'm going to play her.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, I'll take number 1, State Visit. Ran a strong race last time out, was beaten by about a half a length. He's raced 3 times, but he's only a maiden winner. But he's second and third in group races. The stewards were informed before the last race that the trainer is planning on running this horse more forwardly placed. We saw in the chart saying that he's going to close late. So I don't know what he's exactly going to do, but I think he's good enough to get third.
It's got people on their toes, Thomas. Well, I think where you stopped is where I'm going to start. I think he's good enough to get first because closed last time out a little bit. So I think going a little bit longer today is the key. And that last time out was a Group 1 effort. So any improvement today versus these should be enough. Buffalo, great city. Been there. Wants to see just short stop in there. Good old friend lives there. Unfortunately, didn't get a chance to say hi. Maybe someday. Did see Metallica, one of their better shows. In any case, Buffalo, the theme for this race to me is going to be the same from one to the next. Another horse that benefits from catching a little bit more distance, more runway today for those late legs, going to make a difference for the Charging Buffalo. Within the Law is next on my list there, Thomas. This one here, it looks like, look at all these horses around the same, about 5 to 6 to 1. That means anything can win, and that's pretty much the case with 2-year-olds. But Within the Law, this horse made a second upstart once before in its career, and when it did, look what it did, Thomas. It won.
It didn't lose.
Yes. And this is the third pick in a row for me where the horse should find getting extra distance today to its liking. And then finally, Nepotism. As you notice, Tom, I didn't put that other undefeated horse in there, but maybe I am wrong for doing that. This one's coming off a Group 2 win, showed huge improvement in that effort, and today it's making its third career start. So it comes up, debuts, goes straight to Grade 2 and wins, and bam, look out. This one might actually be something. The reason why Spicy Lou didn't make my picks is I have a practice of going throughout and looking at their times, and relative to some of the other ones in here, the times were a little bit slower than the top contenders. Could be the difference between the fields that they faced or not, right? You got to run a little bit faster if you're running against tougher stuff. If the indeed has that extra gear that Tom pointed out, 11 to 1 will look like a steal, and I'll look like a fool for leaving off my picks. 2 races to go, Tom, but before we go on, as always, if you haven't done so, you see scrolling down there below, Horse Race, the number 2 day, at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, right here, Horse Racing Radar TV. If you haven't subscribed, you don't share our content with your friends, kindly do. Any sort of interactivity between you and us helps boost our scores. When the show is over, I will timestamp every race, so you can come back and watch them at your convenience. Of course, again, over at horseracingtoday.net. We'll post all of our comments, thoughts, race replays, everything right here. Just click on that link. Click on the HRT gear. Get yourself some gear. And, of course, over at Guaranteed Tip Sheet, we're starting to get ready for the Kentucky Derby, Kentucky Oaks. That's just 2 weeks away, Tom. Can you believe that?
No.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people out there who are making it interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, the Kentucky Derby is always interesting. So head on over to Guaranteed Tip Sheet. Get your free picks today. And you get some more free picks coming up for race number 8. 2 more to go. This one is the Schweppes All-Age Stakes, another 1,400-meter race. Tom, they'll start back here again, make their way to that turn, come around.
Oh, they're in the chute.
Oh, they're in the chute? Oh, back here? Okay, 1,400 meters. They're coming out of the chute. All right, well, good thing that we got that corrected. How does that chute make a difference, Tom?
Well, I don't think it makes a heck of a lot of difference. I think it just depends on, the kind of horse you have, and the speed will give it up in this one based on the field. So I'd like to sit mid-pack and have a chance with that.
Let's see who's going to get out in the front. Well, you got a bunch of them. Oh, this looks like a pretty
few, yeah.
Yeah, this looks like a pretty competitive beginning to the race. Everyone's going to hustle to get themselves into position out of that chute. That case tells me that you better have the ability to make a mid-move. Again, most everybody middle forward. They're all crowded up there. Really no real big closer back there. And then as they make their way home, Tom, I think this is where this race will be won. And it looks like damn near any one of them could outrun the rest. So getting in the proper position is probably going to be really important in here, Thomas. So which jockey do you think is going to get its horse in the best position to win?
I'll start with number 14, Broadsiding. This horse is using a barrier trial as the prep ran. It was 1,200 meters. It ran fourth. Previous race was at 2,000 meters, and it was at Rose Hill, and it was a Group 1. Tight finish, but it won it. This is an interesting horse because he's a 3-year-old, and it's an all-age race, so most of these horses are older. But he's got a lot of experience running 14 times. And, of course, you can look at how many times he's won. So I made, the thing I had really jumped out at me was he's switching distances, but you figure, okay, well, maybe he's not such a great 1,400 meter horse. Well, he actually is pretty good at it because he's got 4 starts, 3 wins, and a placing. So that's why he made the top of my ticket, even being a 3-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Number 8, Belclair is going to be my next choice. She's a veteran horse of this distance, to say the least. She has 24 starts, 9 wins, and 6 placings just at this distance. She's entering this race off a barrier trial, and I should point out she's coming from New Zealand. But she beat a really good horse in her barrier trial, which was Alligator Blood, who is a Group 1 winner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good horse. So if she can do that at 7 in her barrier, I don't, again, how much they were asking, but they used a barrier. A lot of times they don't. So I thought that was really interesting. And this was a top bunch of horses running in that barrier, and Alligator Blood being probably the best one in there.
Mm-hmm.
And she beat him. So she's got the experience of the distance, that's for sure. Just a question of the competition, if she's up for it. And I think she is. Number 1, Antonio is going to be my final choice. I'm going to toss the last race. It was at 1,600 meters at Chandon against the field. Yeah, Voyage Bubbles. He's good. The race before, he finished second at Flemington at another 1,600 meter, but he's also won at this distance. So,
Fangirl and Mr. Brightside are horses that I'm familiar with as well.
Yeah, those are pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's reasonable. I mean, 7 starts, 3 wins, and a placing at this distance. His first up record is the thing that jumped out at me for this one, and that is he's got 6 starts and 4 wins. So if he's ready, I think he's a threat.
So, Mr. D'Souza, which horse race were you pointing out to number 6 for us? So we can make sure we have some clarification on that. If, like Mr. Christopher D'Souza, who always has great picks, you have something in mind, and in Australia, in the United States, wherever it is in the UK, wherever it is that you do your handicapping, your wagering, your punting, whatever it is that you call it, let us know in the comment section. We're open. It's a community. We're all looking for ways to cash a little bit more tickets. I will begin in the Schweppes race with number 14 like you did, Thomas. Broadsiding. That one for me at the track, as you pointed out, Tom, 3 times out. You point out the distance. 3 times out, 2 wins and a close second at the distance. 4 times out, 3 wins and a third. Definitely a horse for the course, particularly at the distance. Can really run, too, on any kind of surface. Looks like he prefers a little bit more wetness in the track, but still has performed well and good. So if it stays a little bit damp, all the better. Number 9, Magic Time. We all can use a little bit of that for certain. This is another one at the distance. Boom. 7 times out of 8 in the money. At the track, 7 out of 9 times at the money. At the track and distance, 4 out of 4 in the money. As far as I'm concerned, those are pretty high percentages. Maybe he doesn't win, but a Tom horse, got a few more of those coming up. The 2-horse Thomas, I think this one's probably going to be one of your favorites, if not the favorite. Kind of hard to back off a horse that's run 9 times and won 7 of them. Those races ending up in the winner's enclosure. That's a lot.
Yeah, I figured I'm going to try to beat it. I figured that is the favorite. If it isn't, I'll be very surprised.
But at 4-1, that's a pretty good favorite.
That's a very good price, yeah.
especially for somebody with that sort of record. I mean, it's either going to win or blow up your ticket. So
yeah,
I can work with that. And then I really had a hard time with which horse I wanted to put forth. I almost just settled with 3. But I'm expecting Jawlister, the 10 horse here, to be better in the second start after a layoff. You see here in the second up, the horse 3, 1, 1, and 1 does have a second at the track and distance, a couple of seconds, 4 out of 6 times in the money. Again, it was a race, it was a spot that I found very difficult to fill. So I went with that one. We'll see. Probably wins now because I gave it the most lukewarm of all endorsements right there. Last race for you and me today, Thomas, is the 9th race. The screen's blank for now, but it is the Tab Hall Mark Stakes. Looking at the Tab Hall Mark Stakes, let's hold on. So Christopher D'Souza giving me some clarity there. He says the race you were talking about. Okay, good. So that was in race number 8. You like the 6 horse. Yes, indeed. So going back to race number 8 on the 6 horse, Christopher D'Souza settling in on Osipenko. I think that was the other one, 101 to 1. All right. Well, I'm all with you on that one. I hope it comes in. I don't think that was the one I was looking at, but may have been. I forget. As I do forget a lot of things. It's part of the growing old process. But I won't forget that we're doing race 9, the Tab Hall Mark Stakes. This one, hey, a little bit more information there. This one's going to be 1,200 meters, which I think in our math is 6 furlongs, Tom. Is that right?
That is correct. And you're in the chute.
And we're in the chute. Back here again. Boom! It's just pretty much a straight run down into a little bit of a turn there. I would suspect that being on the outside, probably being able to see what's in front of you to the inside has a little bit of an advantage, Tom. What do you think?
I'd say a slight advantage. I think it just really depends on what you show in the next one, which is the speed.
Yeah, so on this speed,
because that will probably reveal a lot in this race.
Well, again, you got a lot of competition to get out there to the front. So I would probably want to be, in this case, somebody who's in touch with the leaders, has a little bit of late legs to close. I mean, you're going to need late legs to close it out if you're in touch. But looking at that, yeah, well, you got 3 of them that look like they're going to separate themselves from the pack. Everybody else then going to give chase. So maybe that could give one of those front 3 a little bit of an edge. On the closing speed side, they're all pretty much bunched up in there. Give me the beat, boys. That one better have a pretty good lead. Otherwise, it looks like it will fade hard. But many of the others in here with a chance late, provided they're in the proper position. Tom, and in your view, who is the one that will be in the most proper of positions?
I did take the speed, which is number 2. Give me the beat, boys. I won his barrier trial, which was a prep. But his previous outings, 2 outings, were not great. And one of the comments I saw in there that was for those 2 races, he was tired. So give him some time off, which makes sense.
Maybe that's what happened to us last week, Thomas. Maybe we're a little tired.
A little worn out, yeah. He's competed well at this level. He's got 3 starts, 2 wins, and a placing. He's won 3 out of 10 at this distance. I'm looking at that barrier trial and going, okay, if that is indicative of his new current form, I think he's got a good chance of taking him all the way. And take 10 Zadeka is my next choice. Been off for 125 days and returned in a barrier trial running 3rd. He's never won at this distance, but he's placed 4 out of his 5 times. And first up is interesting too, because he's placed 3 times and ran 3 times. Yeah, I think he needs a race before he wins, but he likes to run fresh, and he's good enough to hit the board. So I think this is the right level, Group 3 race for him. Mm-hmm. And finally, I'm going to take what I consider to be probably the hot horse. In number 9, General Salute. He's won his last 2 races, both at this distance. The previous win was at Rose Hill. That was against Group 3 races, and he's been moving up because he was in a benchmark 94 race that he won. And that was a really quick time, I think 108 something, and that's quick.
Fast.
And he won it by over 2.5 lengths. And the comment was interesting. He was in a level way above these horses. Well, yeah, because he went out and won the next time out. So That should tell you. And off 2 wins, yeah, I think you can't leave them off the board.
Well, I think you're going to definitely want the ground to stay on the soft side. It's one of the things I was really contemplating when I put it in is I'm putting on my Tom Skilling hats. Or if you're not from Chicago, you don't know who Tom Skilling is, most likelihood. You know who his brother is from Enron, but who's Al Roker, probably the most famous of all of the meteorologists, would you say, Tom?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I put on my Al Roker hat and expecting the track to get upgraded, so I downgraded him. But I didn't downgrade my top pick, Jezebel. That's the first horse up here. Number 1, drops from a grade 1, solid at the track, solid at the distance, so the horse should do all right. Number 7, Ostraka. Sounds like a hockey player to me. Winner of 2 of its 3 races at the track. Sort of an all or nothing type in there. And then, Tom, we have an agreement on number 10, Zidaki, if that's how you pronounce that. If not, it is now. As you pointed out, this horse comes hot off the bench. I think it is a Tom horse. That's what I was looking at it like. I didn't know your picks at that point in time. So, this horse has probably got a really good shot to finish in the money. But on the outside, I think it has a decent shot to win, too, versus the traditional Tom horse. Can it finish in the money? Yeah. Can it win? Nah. So I don't know what you call that. It's the anti-Tom horse. And then finally, I went with number 5. It was a big struggle for me between number 5 and the horse that you mentioned there, the General Salute. But I went with the 5 horse, Mazu. They're both around the same price. This is another one of those horses, Tom, I think. Is it going to win? I think the likelihood it wins is pretty slim in its current form. Hasn't won in a bit, like almost a year. But horse does perform well at the track, does perform well at the distance. And I think the lack of winning, you could see maybe the odds go up a little bit. So does it win? No. But I think you have to include it in your exotics. And that wraps up a proper Randwick week where we actually do what we say we're going to do, make some picks, hopefully some good winning ones like we've been on a roll as of late. Race number 9, Christopher D'Souza likes the 7. That is Ostraka and the 2 horse, Fearson. Again, Chris usually pretty right on with his selections. So I'm speaking of selections. Any idea?
The 1 horse was scratched. The 2 horses give me the beat, boys.
Give me the beat, boys. Okay. Any oh yeah, because Fearson, yes. Thanks for pointing that out. That happens too much for me. Anyway, any idea where we'll make in our picks next week?
Sandown.
One more time.
Sandown.
That is in the UK, if I remember correctly.
It is correct.
All right. So the brain is functioning today. Of course, Monday and Tuesday, Terry and I will do parks. Probably Wednesday and Thursday, we'll stick to Keeneland. The short fields at Aqueduct make it kind of not fun, a little bit less creative, and a little too top heavy right now until they start to really get into the meat of the Belmont at Aqueduct, the most ridiculously named racing circuit of the year.
Yep, and really screws up people's systems for handicapping when they use either computer or whatever. Because that I don't know why they did that. Why can't they just leave it as Aqueduct? Who cares? I mean, in the big picture.
Yeah, because Belmont at Aqueduct, its record doesn't count. It's right. It's not the same. It's stupid.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking.
They weren't, Tom. I think that's
obviously, but
that's the point.
It was still lame.
So again, if you haven't done so yet, please hit the support us. Whether that follow us if you're not. We'd like to get 10,000 followers on X and on YouTube. Hopefully by the end of 2025, it'll be a big lift. But we can only get it done with your help. At the same time, in a little bit, as I mentioned, over at horseracingtoday.net, we'll post all of our thoughts and our picks. You can head on over to the description on YouTube in just a minute as well. I will timestamp every race so you can come back and watch them this evening, pre-party, late dinner, whatever you want to call it tonight in Australian racing. So you can kind of do that.
Very, very early breakfast?
It could be. I mean, yeah, somewhere in the world, I suspect. For the folks in Australia, I don't know. That's probably dinner time.
Lunch, dinner.
All right. Well, anyway, we'll be back on Monday. Tom, any final thoughts from you? Some additional wisdom to help put people in their own personal winners?
Well, this is the final day of racing for their autumn carnival. at Randwick. So, there's big bucks available. So hopefully we can make some big bucks.
Yeah, and then we'll probably start heading into the flat season over there in England and starting to gear up for things like the Royal Ascot, which is a lot of fun, which is why you want to subscribe.
And your favorite ones pronouncing is the guineas.
Yes, the guineas. I think I got that now, though, after 7 years. All right, folks. Well, no matter what you're doing for the rest of this day, this weekend, we certainly hope whatever your endeavors are, they're filled with God's grace, God's favor. And Thomas, in this part of the world, everything ends up in the
winner's enclosure.
Indeed. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you Monday.